The Born to Win podcast highlights individuals excelling at high levels in their purpose and calling. This podcast is for anyone looking to get ahead in life and willing to take action and reach their full potential. Using Champ's male mentoring model of the 3 E's, education, empowerment, and exposure, it means you too are born to win.
I'm born to win. Live. The Jets from Chicago be screaming all that. You are now tuned in to the Born to Win podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Born to Win podcast. And listen, we about to go off to a whole nother level, y'all. Get ready. I'm excited to introduce my brother, Dr. Darnell Leatherwood. We prophesying that. He's working on it right now. He is an award-winning speaker, educator, and businessman, a doctoral candidate at the University of Chicago. He has authored peer-reviewed scholarly articles in a variety of academic journals, serving as the founding member of Thrive Chicago's and President Barack Obama's My Brother's Keeper Alliance Action Team in Chicago. He also serves as a young scholar on the Journal of Negro Education Editorial Advisory Board out of Howard University in Washington, D.C. Additionally, and maybe most notably, Darnell is the founder and CEO of Black Boys Shine, a campaign and contributions of Black boys and men nationally and internationally. This is just the tip of the iceberg. To learn more about Darnell, I want you to follow him. We'll talk more about that. He's Instagram at the real Darnell Leatherwood. Welcome to the Born to Win podcast, my good friend and my brother, Dr. Darnell Leatherwood. Welcome, my brother.
Oh, man. Thank you for having me, man. I am honored. Absolutely honored.
Man, I'm so glad that you decided to give your time, man. I know you're extremely busy, doing a lot of different things. So we are honored to have you on the show. I'm excited. I'm pumped. So, man, for those people who don't know your journey, your story, man, can you just enlighten us?
Yeah, so first, again, I want to say thank you again, Vondale Singleton, my big brother, the chief. You lead by example, and it's completely an honor. It's absolutely an honor to do this work. One thing that wasn't said in the bio, he was so gracious to read the bio, was that I love working with champs. I'm all in, baby.
all in, baby.
100%. But in addition to the work that we do collectively, my story starts out in East St. Louis. I was born and raised in East St. Louis. East St. Louis was statistically the most dangerous city in the United States for many years. It's funny when you grow up in a space and you don't really understand, like, how other people see it because you live there every single day. I had no reservations about living in my space. I did not fear my space. I love my people. I learned how to be Black in East St. Louis because there wasn't a number of Black folks there. Didn't have to deal with racism and prejudice and none of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But the idea was, growing up in East St. Louis, I learned a lot of things about myself that helped me now to continue to move forward and progress in ways that are going to put me in the best position to be of some aid to somebody else, right? In the hood, because I grew up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? When I was being raised as a small child, my formative years, we lived in the projects. Mama put together some money, and then she went and bought a house off a public auction. She put $500 down. She had to put 10% down. So she bought us a house. In that house, man, the roof was falling in. We had no toilet when we first got there. Mama was committed to making sure that she raised her children in a home that, could provide the kind of space and atmosphere that would put us in the best position possible. So she fixed that thing up. I go there now. I'm just like, I remember what it looked like before, and I look at it now. I'm like, Mom, you did it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mama didn't make a whole lot of money either doing it. She's a CNA back in the day. But that being said, she raised myself and my brother. My brother's 1 year younger than me. He's finishing a PhD. He's a PhD candidate at Northwestern University here in outside of Chicago. And she raised us there for 18 years. One of the things I will say here on the front end is that my mother did something that changed my life. She did something that changed my life early on, and that was take me to church every day. I was in the hood. I had a little attitude problem, you know what I'm saying? I get it very naturally. I think, I ain't gonna talk about my mom, maybe from my dad, you know what I mean? But she took me to church every day. And what that means is that I had something to do. I made my friends in church. The people that I associated with were in church. That doesn't mean that we didn't sin and didn't make mistakes. But I had a home, and there were morals, and there were standards, and there were certain things that we did and that we did not do. And when I was outside of church, I was still hanging with those same people. When I was growing up in the hood, I went fishing. Me and my boy Mike rode our bikes every day. You know what I'm saying? So a little bit about, just a little bit about my past. I guess that growing up in East St. Louis was very formative for me. It taught me a lot about who I am as an individual, who I am historically as a Black person. It prepared me for success. Kudos to mom, really for that. And even in school, I got an opportunity to do a lot of things. I took a lot of opportunities to lead and to be an aid to my neighbors. So yeah, that's it on the skimming the surface type.
And we're going to dive in a little bit more, because I think to add context to what you're saying, you came from a city which you alluded to was put on the map in terms of high crime, high murder rates. But I'm looking at someone who beat the odds, and that don't always go hand in hand. And so what were some of the things outside of you being brought into the church house by mom that you mentally had to overcome to get where you are on your journey to being a doctoral student, a youth advocate, and a community leader?
It's amazing. First of all glory to God. I just got to say it. I said it publicly. You know what I'm saying? All glory to the Most High, man. It's just a series of fortunate events. You always hear a series of unfortunate events. It's a series of fortunate events. Coming up, I always had a killer instinct. Very competitive, always. I always had this alpha male, back in the day they say you were smelling yourself. But I always had this alpha male personality. And what was so wonderful about that was that energy, I wasn't told that I was wrong. I was kind of talked about a little bit, because I was a little bullheaded and stuff like that, especially in the house, you need to calm down, relax, why you always going against the flow? But it was in my nature to lead, and it was also in my nature to produce, something that's going to not only aid myself, but also aid other individuals. And it didn't always look like what was around me. So I was able to channel that killer instinct, into positive, productive things because of the extracurricular activities that I participated in. I was for instance, when I was in high school, I was in a National Honor Society. I was in a Beta Club. I was in speech and debate. I was my freshman and my senior class president. So that same energy that my father took to the streets and became a kingpin in East St. Louis, the same energy that got both my uncles killed, one shot in the heart, one shot in the head, 20 and 21 years old. I was in my mother's womb and I was 1 year old when both of her blood brothers, 100% blood brothers, my uncles, were killed, in East St. Louis, right? That same energy that they took, they started the vice lords in East St. Louis. The same energy that they took into the streets, me and my brother were able to take that and channel it into these other productive experiences. So it's the idea that I had supports and I had the mindset. It wasn't a different mindset from them. I wasn't different from them. You know what I'm saying? It was just that I had an opportunity to express myself in ways that were more productive. Right. In the church and then also in the school. And coming through that, I was the first person in my family to go to college. First person. When I went to university, I only applied to one university. And that was because a counselor by the name of Mr. Nave, he said to me, Leatherwood, you're smart enough to do this. And I was like, because I was so competitive, right? That energy, that mindset again, I was like, he gave me that 11-page application. I was like, oh my God, this is huge.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do it because I can do anything.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. I can do anything. So I was like, man, I went through the application. I filled it out, applied to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And this is why it made so much sense to me. When we used to go to Family Dollar when I was growing up. My mother used to take us to Family Dollar. And when we went in the wintertime, they used to have these coats. And one had a big old yellow M on it. And one had the picture of a Chief on it. And it was orange and blue. So when I saw the icon on this application, I was like, oh, I recognize that. This is exposure. This is important, right?
Very
this is something that Champ talk about all the time, right? I recognized the icon from my trips to Family Dollar with my mom. So I was even more inclined to fill it out because I was like, oh, this looks familiar to me.
That's good.
But even though I had a 4.5 GPA, even though I had the highest ACT score in my year, along with this young lady named Jacquees Anderson, right? She beat me the first time, but I'm competitive, so I went back and took it again and tied with her. She finished up at Harvard a couple of years ago in the law school, right? Great things do come out of East St. Louis.
Yes, sir.
Even though I was number 5 in my class, we didn't talk about education like that. I only applied to one university, and I had a full ride scholarship to the United States Navy. I could have went to any university in the country pretty much, but God opened the door in one way, and I walked through it. But it was that mindset that, you know, when I was provided the opportunity, he gave me that one application. I took advantage of it, and the rest is history. So
Wow. Hold on, bro. It's because these are the things that we have to continually conversate and bring up. Again, it's going back to these opportunities.
that's right.
You know, we have an opportunity gap. So when we bring up the words like exposure and we talk about being exposed, we're not just talking about what we're seeing out there. We're talking about opportunities that you're presented with. And so when you took advantage of the opportunity, what did that do for your confidence?
You know, it's very interesting. And I could be real on this podcast. I mean, I don't know what
Yes,
the
sir.
should look like.
Yes, sir.
I learned a lot about myself early on because I was exposed to things, both good and bad, right? And there were some things that were confidence boosters for me. The way I was able to engage with individuals who I was attracted to. That was I wasn't a lame in high school, so it was like I had some confidence boosters, right? Filling out the application and getting admission and gaining admission into the university was also a confidence booster, right? I didn't know anything about university. They wanted me to go to the United States Navy, enlisted. They wanted me to sign up, get this huge bonus to go in and do nuclear engineering. And because I had the highest ASVAB score in the history of my school. Mm. And they were like, yeah, we're going to recruit you for nuclear engineering. And I told them, because I was in the Air Force GRTC program for 4 years, right? And I was my wing commander by the time I got out of there. I said, do I have to say yes, sir, to people for the rest of my life if I go enlisted? And they was like, yeah, unless you go Mustang or unless you know what I'm saying, go to officer training school. I was like, well, I want to go to college then. I don't want to have to say yes, sir, to somebody for the rest of my life. Mm. These were confidence boosts. And they told me yes. They were like, okay, we're going to give you a full ride scholarship. You can go to any school that has a Navy ROTC program. That to me told me I had my destiny in my hand. And it was so funny because I was talking to my mom about it because the recruiter came to our house. And my mom was sitting right there. She was like, baby, take the money. You're going to have a great career. Take the money. They want you to be a nuclear engineer. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to do that. She was like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? So I don't know if you watched Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, yeah.
When Dr. Dre was talking to his mom and she slapped him.
Yeah.
He went out there.
Oh, yeah.
And made history. What I'm saying?
No questions.
But those were confidence boosters. And I was confident from a very early age to kind of make decisions that I felt were in my best interest. But what I loved more than anything else was that I always follow my gut. Because that in my mind now, as an older man, I know what it means. That's the Holy Spirit, right? It's really the Holy Spirit. Back then, I really didn't know. You know what I'm saying? I just trusted my stomach because, usually when I trusted myself, it led in the right direction, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, those confidence boosters kept happening. And when I got to university, boom, that first semester, terrible. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I went from being the top, yeah, you know what I'm saying, but it was okay because it was an opportunity again for me to test the strength, my real strength, and by the time I was finishing up at university, the last 3 years, straight A's.
Wow.
But I didn't give up. And that was part of the confidence boosting too. Failure is not the end, right? There's no such thing as losing. You know what I'm saying? I think MJ says that, right? No such thing as losing, you just learn.
That's right.
Right? It's all a lesson. So yeah, I don't want to go all over the place, but I've had confidence boosters. I'll be very honest. In my personal life and my relationships, you know what I'm saying? Those were confidence boosters when I was young. Mm-hmm. Why is that important? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it was a confidence booster for me. And it made me a little bit more dogmatic in my approach to doing things that I felt were necessary and most beneficial for me moving forward. And then that thing was exacerbated. So that confidence was built upon with these different things happening, like getting university, getting a full ride scholarship, going to university, and then stumbling, but then realizing that I had everything I needed to be successful within me. That's right. And thus producing.
That's right. And here's what we're saying, guys. Look, life happens. Some things we are totally out of control. We don't have any control in why certain things are happening. But it is within our sphere of influence and control to assess the situation and create, again, opportunities, learning lessons to make ourselves stronger. And one of I think the most powerful movements taking place is the movement of media and creating our own media. And I would love for you to kind of just share, the vision, the idea behind Black Boys Shine. He repping the shirt. He got the shirt on, repping it. Black Boys Shine.
Yep.
So if you can just talk about the movement, because I think it's one of the most critical and most important movements of our generation. And we're really just getting started. We have some things cooking behind the scenes.
Yep.
But man, if you can just really just talk and just share why Black Boys Shine.
Indeed. Well, Black Boys Shine is a campaign to illuminate the character and contributions of Black boys and men nationally and internationally. We do this by posting positive, uplifting, and affirming images of Black boys and men on multiple social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube. We also create original content. I have a book that's been written, but it hasn't been published yet. And we do a lot of videos where we get contributions from individuals within the community. And then we also partner with schools and districts. This is something we haven't built out yet, but we partner with schools and districts in order to create online spaces, educational spaces, where kids themselves can post their positive school experiences, right? That looks like, if you were at Butler College Prep, which is a school that one of the board members, he works at as a teacher, right? If you were at Butler can have a specific Black Boys Shine hashtag, Butler BBS, right? Hashtag Butler BBS. And those students, based on their own experiences and their own perspective, can post up on this specific Black Boys Shine Black Boys Shine Facebook page for them, right? Their school experiences and what they find to be valuable. And what's so critical about that is that young people can, not only young people, but the administration can track, these hashtags and see what the kids find to be valuable. I think a lot of times we are guessing at what, these students find to be valuable, what they find to be, positive experiences within the school setting. But we can ask them ourselves, and by providing this platform where they can post their positive school experiences, we don't have to guess anymore, and then we can create specific supports that work directly in line with the things that the students are saying, benefit them in ways that maybe we're not aware of at this current moment. But Black Boys Shine came about because I was a former teacher. I used to teach elementary and high school on the south side of Chicago. And when I was teaching high school, I had the pleasure and opportunity of teaching all Black boys, right? I had all young brothers. So one day I went online to find some positive images of these young brothers, of the young brothers in general. And when I typed in Black boys, you would not believe what came up. It was terrible. Yeah. I don't know what it looks like now, but then it was terrible, So I was like, okay, well, this is a problem. And then so happened I saw on BET Black Girls Rock. And I was like, oh, Beverly Bond and them got it right. They got it right. I said, well, we need something similar, and kudos to them for leading by example. We need something similar for Black boys. We need something that they can attach themselves to. We need positive, a reservoir, really, positive images and messages that these young people can access immediately. Right. So I started to ask some people around. I was like, hey, I started asking around, hey, look, what do you guys think about this name? I thought Black Boy Joy was great, but Black Boy Joy is like a state of being. It's kind of like a state of being. Black Girl Magic is like a state of, you're magical, right? Black Girls Rock, that's something you do. Mm-hmm. Black Boys Shine, you shine, that's something that you're doing. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that was one of the names that came up, and I asked some people around, and they said, man, that sounds like a great name. And from there, I was like, it's on. I said, we have this real estate online, this social media real estate. I was like, we're going to use social media. How do we reach as many people as we possibly can? Media. And so from there, we started a Facebook page, and we went in, and we just, everywhere we can find positive images, positive messages, from people in the community, from people in our Facebook friend groups, whatever. We just compiled it all in one space. And then, folks can go find it. I mean, people from all over the world have contributed to the campaign at this point. London, some West Africans have done it, and then of course domestically. But we have not only those that content that's coming from these networks of individuals on these Facebook pages and Twitter pages, blah, 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 blah. But then we have original content where we go out and we ask individuals, do they believe Black boys shine?
Yes, sir.
Right. Some extraordinary individuals have contributed to that campaign, including, none other than the legendary Vondale Singleton.
That's right, man.
Where they talk a bit about, who they are, what they do, and then at the end they say Black boys shine. And we have over 175 videos of individuals across multiple industries, at multiple levels of their profession. Folks from the block all the way to university deans, principals, assistant principals, founders, you name it, we got it. Now we're getting athletes and celebrities to do it as well. So, I mean, the long short of it is Black Boys Shine is just a campaign that that hopes to, in one place, create a repository of nothing but positive images and messages that young people can access at any given time in a way that informs their positive identity formation. And I can talk a bit more about that from a theoretical perspective, but I won't say any more here.
Man, I love it. And, you know, we met, and when you shared it, it was just like, it was so refreshing, because sometimes in this work, it's not like an army of people doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And anytime you're able to connect with like-minded individuals that have a heart and passion to change the narrative and shift the culture,
yeah,
it's only right that we connect and say, how can we elevate the movement? How can we expand the movement? How can we get others to see how important this movement is? And I just love it. And the best is yet to come. So I want to kind of go back into a little bit of your childhood and just talk about throughout your life, just failures or apparent failures, and how it was able, these perceived or apparent failures, able to set you up for success later on. Do you have a particular favorite failure of yours that you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, in particular from the childhood.
Or it can be teenage, it can be adulthood, anywhere you feel like you want to add value to.
You know what? Something happened recently. You know, I have a wife and two beautiful children. You know, Margot is extraordinary in every way. And my kids are just brilliant. Brilliant and strong. Ooh, my little 2-year-old is strong, man. And something that happened because, you know, in life and in marriage, you know, this is one thing I didn't believe when I first got married. I'll be married 7 years on July 20th. And things are interesting right now. Now, I'll just put it like that. You know, I just thought it was going to be so easy. You know, I was just like, hey, it's going to be easy. It's going to be okay. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. But I've learned so much in my journey as a man that's reflective also of experiences that I had when I was a child. So I think I want to posit this here as not only something that's a reflection now, but something that kind of reflects on, you know, my childhood and my adolescence. This is going to be the title, the first line of one of my books. You know, I mean, I don't know when I'm going to write it, but the greatest tragedy of my life was that I thought I was good. The greatest tragedy of my life was that I thought I was good. And what that means is that it doesn't mean that I'm not exceptional. It doesn't mean that I'm not excellent. It just means that I'm flawed, right? I have weakness. And when you're so used to winning, you gotta think about it. Just think about what I've said so far. Growing up in the hood, I grew up in the projects. I had a little name for myself. I didn't have to fight at the 4th grade because I used to throw them hands. You know what I'm saying? I had to fight at the 4th grade. You know, I was successful, you know, with dating young ladies. You know what I mean? It was okay. Right? I went to university. We started with 1,000 students in my high school. We graduated 300. Where did 700 students go? Right? I was able to, when I was walking around the hood, the old heads were showing me love and just like they did my daddy when he was 16. He ran a pool hall when he was 16. So I was so used to winning. I went to university. You know what I'm saying? I had a full ride scholarship. You know, I stumbled a bit when I first got to school, but then I started excelling, making all A's. Then I went to the University of Chicago for my master's. Then I taught. And then this, and I got married. And, you know, I thought I had it all together. I really thought I had it all together. And what happened is that life reminded me that you are still human.
That's right.
You are still flawed. You don't know everything. And that's okay. Because if you knew everything, there's no room for growth. Today, in this moment, I'm a stronger man because I realize that I'm flawed, that I'm weak sometimes, that I can be vulnerable, and that's okay. That I need to cry.
That's right.
That I need to be more understanding of other people's perspective. I need to be less judgmental. These are all things, and I know it's not specific, but these are all things that I've learned from this fallacy that I was good. This fallacy that I was good, that it was all good. No. And that's the thing. If we only focus on, it's just like working out. I like to work out. If we only focus on one muscle group, you know what I'm saying? The rest of your body gonna look like something else. Yeah, you may be strong in one area, but there are other areas that you need to also work out so that you can be holistically complete. And when we start to focus on one area of our lives, that's when we miss the mark. I started focusing on specific areas of my life. I missed some things. And because of that, I faltered. I faltered. But now I'm so grateful to God for the revelation, right? Because ultimately, it's not that you stay and wallow in the failure. It's that you take that thing, like we said earlier, It becomes a lesson, and you apply it to your life in a way that puts you in the best position to do what you need to do in order to move forward.
Boy,
Never a loss.
You preaching, bro. This is so good. And it's so, in a lot of ways, elementary, right? We should never get to a place where we feel like we've arrived, or we feel like we can't learn, or we can't grow.
Yep.
We talk about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset quite often. And that
Direct.
growth mindset is exactly what you just talked about. You know, you never get into a place where, hey, I'm good. I'm good. Or I have a corner on it. Because that's the moment where you fall, and
That's right.
you have to kind of rebuild from there, just having that mindset. So I'm so glad you shared. So given that, and this is a question that I've asked all of our podcast guests, is if you had a billboard where you could write a message on it, anything that you wanted, what message would you write if millions or billions of people would read it?
Black boys shine.
Black boys shine. Yes.
Absolutely. Black boys shine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And can you kind of add a footnote to that?
Yeah, absolutely, big bro. So the ideal here, see, my favorite word in the world is love.
Mm-hmm.
God is love. He that dwelleth in love, dwelleth in God, and God in him. Love has been my favorite word I think from the cradle. Love is just my favorite word. So that's the word I would want to put up there. But Black boys shine is what has to go up there, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It just has to go up there. Black men, Black boys, and Black young men go through things every single day that we don't engage seriously. Go through trauma, pain, hurt, historical and contemporary. And we don't deal seriously with it. Black men are abused. We're neglected, used as, even in this current era, still used as slave labor in mass. Even though we have more Black men in college than we do in jail. Let's get these statistics right. Even though Black men may not be in the home because we have, about 70% of Black children are born out of wedlock, but they are the most involved in the rearing of their children, more than any other ethnic group. People don't talk about that either, right? Some beautiful things going on. But the ideal is like there's so much weight that Black men are carrying. And it's almost like, who's there to really support the Black man? I love our sisters. I love, other groups of individuals who call themselves allies. But I said this recently, Black women do excellent with Black boys. My mother did a great job with me and my brother, Black women don't do such a good job with Black men. And that might be a positionality thing. Yeah, Black men are left out in the cold a lot, and I think that, and this is not pointing fingers or anything like that, I just think that we have to lift up Black boys and young men. We have to honor them. How we see ourselves matters. Why? Because how you see something is how you treat it. It is not a coincidence, Vondale, that they treat us like this. These police officers treat us like this. Yes, there's a history there, but it's not a coincidence that they can just do this stuff and get away with it. You couldn't kill a dog on camera and get away with it.
That's right.
You couldn't do it. You could not do it, right? And over and over and over again, I'm so appreciative of the moment with this George Floyd movement, right? This Black Lives Matter movement. But we've been seeing recorded murders of Black people, all the Black men and Black women. You know what I'm saying? That is equally as important. But in particular, I'm talking about Black men. And it's almost like when we talk about the school system, I do education research. 98.5% of Black students between the grades of 3 and 8 for academic years 2008, 2009, to 2014, 2015, right? Based on standardized test scores, 98.5% of Black students who are in school districts where the average academic achievement of those students was below grade level.
Wow.
That's 3.5 million students. Only 50,000 of the 3.5 million Black students, only 50 in the public school system between grades 3 and 8 for these academic years, only 50,000 were in schools where the average academic achievement of those Black students were at or above grade level. There are no states in the union, no state where the average academic achievement of Black students is above grade level. This is a travesty. What's interesting is that that's not the case for white students, not the case for Asian students. So we know the school system can work. And this is exacerbated for Black boys.
Yeah.
So I say all this to say, because I don't, the narrative is not, because I don't like pushing a deficit narrative, and I definitely don't like to push the negative, but we have to talk about, like I said earlier, you can flex one muscle, but we got to talk about all of it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
We have to lift up Black boys and young men in a way that is going to transform their lives. I'm tired of incremental change.
That's right.
I'm tired of it. My son is beautiful. He should not have to put his hands up so that you don't kill him. He should not have to say, I can't breathe. No, son, you can breathe because breath is life. God, he breathed into you.
That's right.
That's life. That's a soul. That's a mind. That's consciousness. So when you tell me I can't breathe, you're telling me you're taking away my consciousness. They have taken away the consciousness of Black men, the soul of Black men for years. So when I lift up Black men, when I say Black boys shine, I'm doing it because it's necessary in order to move forward a nation. Because when you empower Black boys and Black men, you empower the world. That's what we're missing. We're missing that. So yes, love is my favorite word. Yes, there are a lot of things that Black men and Black boys are dealing with on a regular basis. A lot of crazy, interesting things. Yes, there are a lot of things that Black men and Black boys are doing very well. But when I lift up Black boys shine, and I say Black boys shine, I say it because I want to illuminate a truth that is often obscured. And by showing up in excellence and in beauty and intelligence and everything else that is Blackness, I think we can prove to the world, more importantly, prove to ourselves, right, that there's value. And when you value something, you treat it differently.
That's right.
So I will always lift up Black boys shine.
Well said, bro. Well said. Thank you so much for sharing that with so much passion. So got a couple more questions for you. So we know that in our teenage years, a lot is taking place emotionally, personally, from a physiological standpoint. A lot of changes, a lot of adaptations of who we are, and a lot of iterations of who we are. But can you talk about that time from 14 to 20, a transformational experience that kind of helped shape who you are today?
Absolutely. This is a profound question. I love it for multiple reasons. Theoretically, from Erik Erikson in 1950, Erik Erikson had the 8 stages of a man, and he talked about identity formation, right? I think that's stage 5. and that was just a theory. But Marcia in 1967, she took that theory and she operationalized it. James Marcia in 1967 operationalized it by saying, okay, this ideal of theory. This ideal of identity, right? Identity does exist, but how do we measure it, right? So there are 4 stages of identity, right? Diffuse, foreclose, moratorium, and achieve, right? Diffuse says you have no identity crisis, you have not, taken on an identity. Foreclose says, okay, well, I've taken on an identity, but I have not had an identity crisis. Moratorium says I'm having an identity crisis, but I haven't taken on identity. And then achieve is where you had an identity crisis, and then you've taken on identity. Adolescence is a very malleable time. That was said back in 1967, and then re-articulated over the years. In 1989 by Finney, then Spencer, in 2007 said something different as well. But the idea is that identity is a malleable time. And it's crazy because most of us, especially educators, you'll see educators say this all the time. Oh, by the time they get to high school, it's too late. Oh, it's too late because we've lost them. So we should have gotten them so young. Yes, that's true. Get them during their formative years. But during your adolescence, you are extremely malleable. Why? Because you're building identity. Adolescence is pretty much between 12 and 18. Those are the hard lines, but we know there's a lot more, it's much more fuzzy than that, right? You can start adolescence early, you can go way into your young adulthood, still forming identity and can be considered a child, really, or adolescent, a teenager, in some of your behavior. For me, what's so very interesting is that there were specific things that happened to me during my adolescence, right, between 14 and 20, that were extremely formative and helped me to see myself in different ways. I participated in a lot of activities. Exposure is one of the major keys. Education Not only did I, perform in my high school, which wasn't really known for its academics, but I had my own personal friend group, and we would call it the nerd corner because we got like all the best scores in all our classes. Me, Toriano Patterson, and Chad Lyles. I'll never forget it. The nerd corner. We still kick it today. We have a little investment group that we have and some other things. It's amazing the people that you surround yourself with, what a difference that makes.
Powerful. Yes, sir.
And then, with the education piece, then going off to university, which was extremely formative, right? From 18 to 20, kind of being in an adult nursery, right? Being able to make a lot of mistakes, do stupid stuff, but be okay, be safe, be able to make those mistakes in a safe environment. And that's one of the tenets of identity formation. Identity formation should happen in a safe, secure environment, right? If you want to do it right. So for me, I don't want to throw too much theory out there, but as I transitioned through my adolescence, I didn't have a lot of role models. I really didn't. I didn't start getting role models until I was an adult. People that I looked at and was like, I can be like that person. I could take something from that person and enhance my own capacities. People like Charles Payne, people like Ivory Toast, people like Vondale Singleton, right? These are the men that I look at and I'm like, I can be better. President Barack Obama.
Brother. That's right. That's right.
So I don't know if I'm answering the question per se, but
you're doing well, brother.
Hey,
yeah.
But I just want to, I want to articulate that during my adolescence, two things were very important for me, especially outside of having real male mentors in particular, people that look like me, that I can look at and say, okay, this is the next step in my development. Exposure and education. They were paramount.
And education, which are two of the 3 E's of CHAMPS: education, empowerment, and exposure. And that's
and watch this.
Yep, go ahead.
Can I add, and with the empowerment piece, that was so important as well, because in most of those extracurricular activities, I was empowered to leadership through my leadership.
Yeah.
In my church, I was my junior choir president. I was the president of the usher board. I was a junior deacon, right? I learned Robert's Rules of Order right in my church. So I was empowered in these different spaces, and that made a big difference too. So if I can amend a portion of what I just said, being empowered, being educated, and being exposed, they made all the difference.
Powerful. And I love it because it's totally in the vein of what we teach, what we live by, what we preach, what we are products of, right?
Yeah.
And I just truly believe that there's somebody out here watching or listening that this is actually starting to make sense for them. Yep. They actually starting to believe that they can be the next one up. And I truly believe it. And so what advice would you leave or give some smart driven college student about to enter the real world? And what advice should they ignore? So what advice would you give them, and what advice should they ignore?
Okay, I'll give a philosophy first. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. As you go into the real world, do the things, you have responsibilities. There are things that are non-negotiable. Yeah. Do those things. I'm going to just leave it right there. Do the things you have to do so that you can do what you want to do. Advice that you should not take. I saw it said before on social media, was interesting. Somebody said, why do you care about the opinion of someone who you would never take advice from in the first place? We care a lot about what people think. And it's like, sometimes we care about the opinion of folks who don't even, we would never take advice from. And it's like, why do I, right? Yeah. But, that also speaks to some insecurity sometimes. Be confident in who you are. Yes, sir. Be confident. Just be. And just know that you have everything in you to be successful. I once said it like this: how do you become that which you already are? The capacities, your gifting, your purpose is already inside of you. It's inside of you. It was birthed in you from the time that you were created. So the ideal is, all you have to do is tap into that potential. You don't have to do anything extra. It's already there. People are trying to become something that they already, already are that millionaire. That's right. Already are the college graduate. You already are that father, that mother, or that great partner. Whatever it looks like, you are that thing. All you have to do is bring it to the forefront and trust it. Trust you, because everything you need in order for you to be successful is in you already. You don't have to look for it. The greatest mistake most people make is trying to be like somebody else. That's why social media can be so toxic, right? You're watching these other people live their lives. You see them being successful. You see them moving in certain kind of ways. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I aspire to be like this. So I need to take these, you know, and you don't see all the work behind closed doors. I need to take this step to get to that. And when you don't arrive, now you're disappointed because you're trying to live somebody else's life. They have to live their lives. You need to live your life. So you have to figure out, what is that thing that I'm called to do? And I call it like this. I tell my students all the time, and anybody else that's willing to listen. What is that thing that you like to do as much as you like to eat and sleep? Because you got to eat and you got to sleep. What's that thing you think about just like that, right? That thing is probably the thing that you're purposed to do.
That's right.
Tap into it, move on it. And ultimately, I mean, with all of this little advice that I'm giving, you know what I'm saying? I know it's a little bit all over the place, but you can go back, rewind it, come back, you know. You can do that work. Yeah, but the ideal is trust God. The best advice I can ever give anyone, whatever you call them. I don't care what you call them, but there's only one true living God. I don't care what you call them. Just know that there's a God, there's an author, there's a person that's in control, you know what I'm saying, outside of yourself. So if somebody's in control outside of yourself and they got everything under control, what do you got to worry about then? What do you got to worry about? All you got to worry about is you.
That's right.
Right? And the best thing that you can do with that purpose and the stuff that you got going is be of service to somebody else. So yeah, you worry about you, but it's in the context of how do I put myself in the best position to love my neighbor. So yeah, I'm a stop because I want to keep going.
Hey, we can keep going. We can keep going. But everybody, you tuning in to the Born to Win podcast here with Dr. Darnell Leatherwood, and he is dropping jewels. He's dropping some knowledge, and he's sharing from his own experience. And I want people to know how they can follow you. How can they follow behind what you're doing and support your movement? Can you give us your social media and your contact information?
Yes, indeed. So you all can follow me on Facebook at Darnell Leatherwood. You can find me on Facebook at Darnell Leatherwood. But follow me on Instagram. Really, that's why I'm trying to build up that little base there. You know what I mean? At the real Darnell Leatherwood. The real Darnell Leatherwood all together. As far as the work that we're doing, you can follow Black Boy Shine on all of these social media platforms. You can follow Black Boy Shine Incorporated on Instagram. And then you'll follow Black Boy Shine just in general on Twitter and Facebook. And you can also email us too at blackboyshineincorporated@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you again, my brother, for giving your time to today. And we don't know who's on the other side listening or watching. So I thank you for the words spoken from your heart. And again, this is another Born to Win podcast.
Born to win, live. The Jets from Chicago be screaming all that.
Thank you for listening to the Born to Win podcast. Would you consider making a donation to Champs? We are looking to provide senior class care packages and other essential items like food, hygiene, and toiletries for the families of our Champs mentees. You can donate via Cash App at $Champs Mentoring or PayPal at paypal.me/Champs Mentoring. Or you can always visit our webpage, champsmentoring.com, and click on the donate button. Thank you.